Good afternoon, this is Tamara Sweeney from Love Dominates, and today I'm going to try to make a quick video on how the Alienator creates false memories for your children. The only way I can do this is give you some examples of my case. So hopefully you'll be able to relate and pick out the red flags in your own situation. So, I call them either a narcissistic ex-spouse, whether it be male or female, father or mother, or I call them the alienator. But what they do is they create false allegations. They tell your children, whether they're, at a young age or an older age, they make up stories. So in my cases, the first one was, your mom never loved you. Your mother never loved you. So let's think about that. How can one person know how I feel? They're not in my head. They're not in my heart. How does that person know how I feel? So I can wipe that right off the plate. I could also go and say, I raised those children for 17 years. 4 out of 5 kids. For 17 years, I gave up my life. If I didn't love those kids and I hated those children, why would I dedicate my life for 17 years to something that I didn't like? Number 2, he told my children that I said I hated my children every day. And that I stole their childhood. I would tell my kids something like, brush your teeth or make your bed. And he would battle me on that. These were his exact words, the alienator's words. They were, leave them alone. Just leave our children alone. So when a child's hearing that, instead of the alienator co-parenting and uniting with you, they're setting you up already to look like a bad parent. Let's see, I'll go back to the statement of how my kids actually believed that I said I hated them every day. Number 1, the alienator wasn't even around for 6 weeks at a time. So how would he know what I said every day? Number 2, if I hated my children, then why did every day I wake up at breakfast, I made them homemade lunches for school, and I had those little sticky notes that I used to put in their lunch boxes of inspiring, encouragement, the word of the day, where I would just sit there and tell them how much I love them and gave them little XOs, little hearts, and they used to come home and complain that they were embarrassed that they had those notes in their lunchbox. So everything he has said, I can contradict. Another thing he told my kids, and that they truly believe, that I said, how did he say it? I wish the neighbor's kids were my own kids and not my own. So the alienator takes your words and twists them every time. To give an example on that, the neighborhood kids would come home after school and do their homework right away. And my kids would want to do the opposite. They'd want to come home and play. And because all the neighborhood kids were saying no, I would just tell my children, why don't you do what such and such kid is doing and do your homework now, and then afterwards we'll play. Well, somehow the alienator took that and twisted it around to make me look bad. Your mother wants those kids as her own kids and not you. I mean, how ridiculous is that? How the alienator is able to create these false memories is they first of all, they strip you of your confidence and your credibility. So I had a hard time in the beginning because I actually believed I must have been a bad parent, or maybe I was too harsh, or maybe I was too strong-fisted or iron-fisted, whatever you say, on my parenting beliefs. But no, apparently I wasn't strong enough. Once the target parent has the strength to actually leave this chaos and this insanity, you will see from outside the box of what's actually going on. I had a really, really hard time because I believed the alienator truly loved me and loved me more than I loved him. I'm trying to think of how the alienator breaks you down, and they will completely break you to the point of financials, like bankruptcy and homelessness, so that you don't have any money to offer your children. You don't have any money to fight them in court, so they win at all costs, at all fronts, because they control everything. I'm trying to think of other milestones or points. How I asked my ex, I wanted everything to stay the same. I just wanted 2 different houses, but I wanted to keep the same rules. But that was the problem in the first place. They don't know how to co-parent. They don't know how to reason. There is no rules, there is no disciplining, and they are never held accountable, my children or my ex, for their actions. So, when you look really bad as a targeted parent because now they're paying for college, they're paying for their vacations. I'll never forget the first Christmas that I was without my children. My youngest was devastated, crying, kicking and screaming, didn't want to go. But guess what? My ex's name is Thomas, and they went to St. Thomas for Christmas, and the courts allowed this. How does that happen? It's not good for the children. It's not good for anyone. So, the alienators will pay for college, which makes them look good. That he was going to be responsible for paying college for when we were married anyway. So what's the difference? I actually had to fight for my kids' education because my ex didn't believe in education. He told the kids to tell the teachers to F off because my 14-year-old was in control. That's when I knew something was seriously wrong. Sorry about that. Had to decline a call. My ex would fly my children around for a party, to see anyone. But when my own mother passed away, he would not fly my children in for her funeral. So the alienator excludes anyone that is on your side, all your family. My family finally came around and started seeing the truth. And he wouldn't allow my kids to be around their own grandparents, their own cousins. So that is another sign. An awful experience I had when it comes to these false memories is the alienator will convince and pit your friends, your neighbors, your family, your own parents, your own siblings against you. Mine, in my case, offered my brother, my brother-in-law, the neighbors' kids, all jobs. So, but they have to believe the alienator and support the alienator. So I'll never forget, here's one example, because he did this behind my back, was to have a holiday. He had Thanksgiving with my parents, with my children, with my siblings, without me there. When I found out, I went over, and what do? They call the police, and I'm escorted off the property. In my own family's house. This is where I was raised, not the alienator, where I was brought up. I was thrown off the property. So I'm just giving you some of these examples so that you can see the signs, you can see the red flags, and try to conquer this. So in other words, the targeted parent who raised the children, whether it's the mother or the father, from birth to teenager, took care of them, took care of all the doctor's appointments, all the important milestones, are now unable to participate in what they used to do. And that is so wrong on so many levels. So I want to put this out there. Any neighbor, any relative, any family member that is supporting someone that is alienating their children from that other parent is dead wrong. It's dead wrong. Because no child wants to be without that parent, and no parent wants to be without their children. And if you are a person that supports that, and you actually believe in that alienator, and you believe what the children are saying because they've been brainwashed, then you are a very naive, ignorant person. And you really need to do some soul searching, because I know if this was happening to you, or this was happening to your children, you wouldn't be thinking on the same grounds. Okay, this is long enough. Love dominates. Choose love over hate. Choose compassion over judgment. Stop this parental alienation. Bring our children back to the parents, not the court system. Get them out of the courts. All right, love dominates.